Welcome into the Gibson Fantasy Football Podcast. We are back again with you. We have Josh and Aaron here. Woohoo!
The crowd goes crazy.
We are here on this lovely Saturday evening. It is Saturday, April 9th, and we're here to just briefly cover a news item and then jump into Mr. Stephon Diggs, who received a nice sum of money. So if you are looking for this or anything else we might put out there, you can find us at our website, GibsonFantasyFootball.com, Gibson_FF on Twitter, Gibson Fantasy Football on the YouTube channel, Gibson Fantasy Football on Instagram, and Gibson Fantasy Football on Podbean, if you want the audio version of any or all of our stuff. Okay. First news item to cover is the Eagles and Saints trading picks. So we had talked about this just a little bit before we jumped on here. But in a nutshell, the Saints gain the 16th, 19th, and 194th overall picks. I mean, really, we can throw that one out the window. Essentially, they get a 16 and 19 in the first round. And the Eagles get the 18 and then 101, 237, 2023 first, 2024 second. So they gave up one of their first round picks to get a bunch of stuff in addition to that. So what are your thoughts there on either team and kind of what they're up to?
I don't mind. I mean, it's kind of one of those ones we got to wait and see. If they know what they're doing, get some good guys in there. And I'm just kind of trying to look up and see if any famous players ever got picked in the 16th and 19th spot.
I'm sure there's somebody
in the draft.
I would think. Yeah, I mean, so certainly from the Saints' perspective, I think that this increases their chance they're going to grab one of those quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah.
We know that, they've got Jameis Winston there, and he's something to tie them over for this year, but I think they wouldn't mind grabbing somebody to both compete and more likely to take over after Jameis.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles, for me, if they're giving up one of those first round picks, I think that secures Jalen Hurts even a little bit more, because I think now they're thinking there's nobody in this class that they're that interested in that they want to move on from Hurts for. So I think that first pick goes as a defensive player, or if it should be a wide receiver, at least for fantasy purposes. That's what we hope.
Yeah, and they still, they had 2 first round picks. Philly did.
Yeah,
and
they gave one up. Yeah,
like come and burn you. It's one of those things that, who knows, kind of thing.
Yeah,
right? Some drafts are better than the others.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what those players turn into. If they turn into anything offensively for fantasy, my bet would be a quarterback for the Saints and a wide receiver for the Eagles. But we'll see what happens, right?
Again, I couldn't do it fast enough. I didn't see anybody that popped up on the 15th and 19th or 16th pick. So
maybe that's bad juju for the Saints then.
Yeah.
All right, the bigger news. Stephon Diggs gets an extension, 4 years, $96 million. It can go up to $104 million with incentives, and $70 million of that is guaranteed.
Whew. It's not a bad payday for 4 years.
Yeah, that's. So I mean, 24 a year if you get the full 104, 26 a year. So in terms of what we've been seeing, that puts him as a top 3 contract in the league. Signs him until 2027, which he'd be 34. Now, I haven't seen all the details of the contract. I think they were still finalizing that piece, or at least finalizing it before they released it. I'm sure it'll be front loaded with a big signing bonus and a lot of money in the first 2 to 3 years, and then a lot less money in the last couple of years. So if they decided to move on, they could. But certainly it locks him in for the 2 years that he's already got left on his contract, and then at least another 2 after that.
Yeah, he's the richest man in Buffalo, I think now. It wasn't too hard to do, but he's done it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what Josh Allen. how he ends up with his
Yeah.
contract as we move along here, but I'm sure there'll be a day when he vastly outproduces this contract.
It seems like right in the prime of his career too, that 28 to 34, 35 range. They always talk about that being the peak of your, athletic body and all that. So definitely worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we saw Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill both go other places because they couldn't get a deal done. So, I mean, good on Buffalo for saying we're going to lock up our guy.
Devontae Adams just didn't go to another place. He went to the Raiders.
The one and only
The
place.
one and only Las Vegas.
Everybody dreams to go.
We'll
so
see
for
where
fantasy,
they end up in 10 years.
As we let's look at his stat lines for the last 2 years and kind of think about him for a second here. So in 2020, he had that huge year with 127 receptions for 1,538 yards and 8 touchdowns, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Had he had a couple more touchdowns, he probably would have been the wide receiver 1. And then last year, which felt like a down year, I think probably because there was a lot of hype and he was overdrafted, but he put up 103 for 12, 25, and 10 as the wide receiver 7.
Wow.
So, I mean, double-digit touchdowns, over 1,200 yards, over 100 catches. Both years he had over 160 targets, 164, 166, so a lot of volume. I think it makes him a pretty safe bet in terms of fantasy production here.
He's a big-time player. He shows up in the big games. Just make sure he's in your lineup when you're playing those teams that don't have the greatest coverage in the secondary. Because he'll burn you. I mean, even Buffalo is so dangerous. Him and Josh Allen are just, they can pretty much burn any defense out there. So, but they're going to have to do it against some tough AFC defenses, which, looks like, I don't know if Tyrone, what's his name? Matthews is going back to KC. And that secondary is going to be, I don't know what's going to happen in that defense.
Yeah.
So, if they're playing Kansas City on the schedule, definitely put him in the lineup because I don't think that secondary is going to be as good or that defense as good as what they've been.
Well, I think you're certainly locking him in almost every week unless you have some sort of miracle option ahead of that. But or he's on a bye. Yeah. But no, I hear what you're saying, right? There's some potential for even boom weeks, right? Which I think is what he was lacking this year was those big boom weeks. Didn't have quite as many of those. But for fantasy, I mean, we'll walk through it at the end. We'll do a little exercise to see kind of where we have him now for this upcoming season and then also in Dynasty. But he's definitely locked in as an elite receiver for fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, his targets went down last season, but I mean, still incredible. More touchdowns.
Yeah.
Not like a huge amount of more, but just more touchdowns for less receiving, less throwing too. And yeah.
He looks good, and he's tied to, as you mentioned, Josh Allen. So let's go there for a minute. I mean, impact on Josh Allen. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, he's got to be thrilled. If you're a quarterback, you want that wide receiver that he's a go-to guy. Like, oh man, you think of some of the wide receivers, Marvin Harrison that Peyton Manning had in Indianapolis. I mean, guys that you just, when you're down, when you need that big catch or that first down, those are the guys that you look for. I mean, there's not a whole lot of them in the league. And, to have one on your team, it's pretty, he's got to be thrilled.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think if anything, this increases Josh Allen's dynasty value. I think he's probably already the dynasty QB 1 or 2. Some people have Mahomes. I would have Josh Allen. But this just locks that in even more, knowing that his top guy is going to be there, not just for the next 2 years, but probably for the next 4 years or more.
It helps too, like when you have guys like Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on that team, when you're trying to, bring guys in on free agency and stuff. That's what helps. I mean, guys don't want to come to a team that has little to nobody on the team. And too, like, that you show up on Buffalo Bills, you're going to get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, it does go well for the organization, and I agree with you. I think it attracts folks and promotes other people to want to stick around. Speaking of other people, let's talk about my man Gabe Davis, the projected number 2 behind Stephon Diggs. So, there is some other receivers there. Isaiah McKenzie, who was there last year, is still there. Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley walked out the door in free agency, and then they brought in Jamison Crowder. So clearly, at this point, by most people's standards, certainly the number 2. Now, in terms of what he's done, he finishes the wide receiver 54 in 2020 and 53 last year. So you think to yourself, well, come on, Josh, why are you getting me excited about this guy? And well, that's because, as I said, Beasley and Sanders walked out the door, and he was the 4th option. So in most cases, he wasn't even on the field. So when we look at last year, when he did have a 50-plus snap percentage, which is not much. I mean, that's half the snaps. Some of the elite wide receivers play 90, 95% of the snaps.
Yep.
So that could certainly go up. But even when he was over 50, and in a lot of times not much over 50, he finishes the wide receiver 40, 18, 27, and 4 on those weeks. Not to mention that big playoff game against the Chiefs, where he got everybody's attention going for 8 for 201 and 4 touchdowns, breaking the single game record for receiving touchdowns by one player in a playoff game.
Yeah, that was his coming out party, eh?
I think so. Yeah, he was already somebody that people were excited about going into last year, but then they went and signed Emmanuel Sanders, and boom, he went back to being the number 4 again.
And that's a big game too. Like, that's not week 4, week 5 game where if you lose, hey, you still got a lot more time to get it going. But that's a big time player. Like, yeah, I like this Gabe kid. Definitely, I am a little concerned though with losing Cole Beasley. I know he's getting up there in age, but speaking about clutch, that guy was always just for those small, like, it's 3rd down and whatever, 3rd down and 5, 3rd down and 6. He would just be that guy. He would be covered too, and he would just somehow magically get the ball. So, just looking at some of these names, hopefully one of these guys can be that next, just that dirty down player. Is what I
think Jamison Crowder probably fits that mold out of everybody. Coming from the Jets, that's kind of what he was up to. A lot of high volume, low distance catches. So I think if you're in a full PPR league, like, he might be valuable still, but I think Gabe Davis has the potential to, you see a lot of teams where the wide receiver 2 is valuable.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to be like Higgins or Thielen or Lockett or some of those guys where he's like a potentially top 12, top 15 option.
Right.
But I think he's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 that you're going to want in your lineups, 80% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And Josh Allen likes to seem like he likes to spread it out too, likes to spread that love. Just, all over the place. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. He does. And I think that it'll be okay for him. He'll be the number 2. And then if he can get on the field more, he should be good to go.
It'll be interesting if, down in the fantasy sometime, in those later weeks when you kind of need a filler, some of these guys may be the go-to guys that you want to go to.
Yeah.
When you need a filler. So.
That's right. Yeah. On that offense, I mean, if you can get a piece of it, even if it is, Isaiah McKenzie or Crowder there, you still might throw those guys in on a bye week for a chance that they have a big game for Buffalo.
Yeah, especially if they're playing the Jets.
And they will twice a year.
Yes, they will.
All right, let's finish up with a little exercise here. So we'll go redraft first. I'm going to read you some names, and you say yay or nay, whether you would take Diggs over those names. And when we get to a yay, then we'll sort of track it there and see kind of how many people are ahead of him. But this is basically like consensus, sort of top 10 guys or so. So I'll say the name and you say yay or nay.
All right, sounds good.
All right, and I'll jump in with you. All right, so Cooper Kupp.
Nay.
Agreed. Justin Jefferson.
Nay.
Agreed. Jamar Chase.
Yay.
You take Diggs over Jamar Chase?
Oh, no,
Or
sorry.
Chase?
I take Chase over Diggs.
Okay, so we got 3 so far. Devontae Adams.
I take Diggs.
Diggs over Adams?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
weird. I know
Okay.
that's coming from me, who's a Raider fan. So.
Yeah. Okay, Deebo Samuel or Stephon Diggs?
Ooh, Stephon Diggs.
Okay, so far we only got 3. AJ Brown or Stephon Diggs?
Whew. I like AJ Brown, but I like Diggs.
Okay. We'll go two more. CD Lamb or Stephon Diggs?
Oh, this Stephon Diggs.
And Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs?
I gotta go with my boy Diggs because Tyreek's burned me in the fantasy. And,
Okay, so you got him at number 4. And you know what? I'm not far behind you. I would put Adams ahead of him. I still like Devontae Adams a little bit better.
Yeah.
But after that, I mean, I think I probably want him ahead of Debo, AJ Brown, Lamb, Tyreek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty high, top 5 option for both of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now let's switch brains for Dynasty, where age is certainly a huge factor. So I'll go again. This is Dynasty version, so this is taking into account age of everybody. So Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, we can assume no because we said no, and now we're talking about Dynasty. So for sure there's 2. All right, CD Lamb for Dynasty now.
I could only keep how many?
No, we'll keep and just yay or nay again.
Oh,
so CD Lamb or Stephon Diggs, but thinking about Dynasty where age becomes a lot more important, right?
I'm taking Diggs.
Wow, you're going over. Okay. AJ Brown.
He's younger, isn't he?
Yeah. So Diggs is 28. These guys are like 23, 24.
I gotta go with AJ Brown.
Okay, we got 3 there. Cooper Kupp.
Diggs.
Okay. Debo Samuel.
Still like Diggs.
Okay. T. Higgins.
Ooh, I gotta go with my boy Higgins.
Okay. DK Metcalf.
Diggs.
And Devontae Adams. And now you get the age. He's 1 year older.
Diggs.
Okay. All right. I don't think there's going to be anyone else here then based on who you've said. So for me, so you've got 4, so you're about number 5, which is pretty high for Dynasty. I would take him. I would still take CD Lamb, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, probably Higgins and DK and Adams. So I'd probably have him around. Yeah, and then it gets dicey with like guys like Debo. No, not Debo, but DJ Moore, Waddle. I mean, I'd probably have him around that 9 or 10 mark. So a little lower than you do, but again, a top 10 option even in Dynasty. He's at age 28. So that's pretty impressive. All right, so that's everything Stephon Diggs. Anything else you want to drop in before we call it a day?
No, I'm getting super excited, and it's only April right now.
We're close, man, for the draft.
Haven't even gotten into the NBA playoffs, the hockey playoffs, Major League Baseball. And by the time baseball is getting into the playoffs, that's when the NFL is going to be getting back. So that's
right.
Oh, man, I wish it was tomorrow.
I think we all do. At least we got the NFL draft to soothe our desires for a little while here.
Seems like there might be some big moves in that too, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles and Saints trade will be the last one before the draft.
No.
All right, well, thanks again for tuning in with us. Josh and Aaron here. You can, again, find us at GibsonFantasyFootball.com, Gibson_FF on Twitter, Gibson Fantasy Football on YouTube, Gibson Fantasy Football on Instagram, and Podbean. And if you enjoyed us here, please like and subscribe, and feel free to comment here or find us and comment anywhere else. All right. Everybody have a nice rest of your weekend, and until next time, clear eyes, full heart, and lose.
Peace.